Hello and welcome to Istorya. This is Kim, your host for the show, and I am joyful to air this new episode as we celebrate year two. For this year, I have decided to make some small changes to the format of the podcast. And to all my previous listeners and to those new ones as well, Historia started airing its first episode last June 28th, 2020. And since then, we encountered a lot of challenges and a lot of drama. So I'm still happy that we are able to survive, not just to survive, but we're able to make it through the first year. And now we will be putting some segments on the show, which will help my future listeners identify what they want to listen. And the first one will be English as a second language teaching in focus, or ESL teaching in focus. I chose this industry because this is where I'm currently working, and I want to share not only my experience but also what is happening inside the industry. So this would also help young professionals discern if ESL teaching is a path they can consider. They can consider rather. So for this episode, please welcome our guest. We have Eli Dunton. She's a teacher in Vietnam. Welcome to the show, Ellie.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, or wherever you are. I hope you're having a good time.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on the show. So first is I want to start by having you introduce yourself. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're working on or what are you enjoying right now.
Uh, my full name is Elishama Therese Dunton, so it's quite long. So I go by the name of Ellie. They call me here Ellie, Teacher Ellie. And I am an ESL teacher here in Vietnam for about 1 year and 6 months, I think. Yeah. And what I'm busy with right now, because of the pandemic, I'm more into self development. I'm trying to build new hobbies. I'm into yoga, gym, what else? Cycling, jogging during my spare time, and currently I've been quite addicted to podcast shows, more into self-image development. So I think yeah.
Interesting. So you have a lot to do, like you have a lot of activities, cycling, yoga. So more into self development and personal growth for sure. So that's really
That's
cool.
true.
Now, I want to go with your origin story. So what's interesting is that we were in the same university back in our college days, right? So we are
That's true.
also
That's true.
we're also are in the same hometown. We're from Capiz. I'm from President Ross, and I just found out that your mother is from the same town as well. So that's really awesome. Now, I was also socially, yeah, I was more awkward back then during my college days, but a little bit. So I don't know really much about you before. So talk about your early life and what motivated you to become a teacher.
Um, Good question. So I'm from family of teachers. My grandmas are both teachers, public school teachers, and my mom is a teacher, and my sister is a teacher. So I think it's not new that I'm a teacher. But growing up, I really loved teaching. I would stay at my mom's classroom and then I would help her check the works of her students. I would help her make the grades at such young age, I think elementary, high school. So yeah, I would help her. And if my mom is outside, me and my sister are left inside the classroom, I would like say here, say to my sister, come here, come here. I will like discuss something, just random stuff. I would write something on the board and I would be like, do you understand? Is it clear? Do you have questions? Yeah, so I think it's really my passion. So it's both a passion and profession for me being a teacher. And I love being with kids. I really love them. It makes me happy just being with kids. And I have lots of nieces already, and I have got nephews as well. So I think teaching isn't really that something like out of nowhere. I think it's really in line with what I am. It's in me. I think
Fantastic.
born to be a teacher, I might say. I don't know. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, love that. It's really interesting because your from your grandparents, they're teachers, and then it came down to your mother, and then you also became a teacher. So we kind of have the same history as with my grandparents. My grandparents were uh my grandparent, my granddad. Okay, he's
Your grand.
yeah, he's also a teacher, and then my mother, she's also a teacher, and then I don't know what happened to me.
Awesome.
I ended up becoming an ESL teacher too. So yeah,
Also
and
in your blood, I guess so.
uh, I could say so. Okay. Wow. And it's nice that you love kids, because not all the people love kids. They hate kids, right? There are some kids that are, oh, I'm you'll get
It's
hypertension because of
inevitable. I
them,
think
right?
so. You've got to lot have or loads of patience with kids because they are all not the same. And each one of them, like one kid would be really nice to you this day, and tomorrow is like, do I know you, teacher? And then the other day would be, I love you, teacher. So it's like that. They're
Oh,
crazy.
yes. They have different learning curve, right? They have different,
Hmm,
their development might be for this age, they've already developed how to speak, or how to learn about a particular topic. But for some, they might be just learning letters. They just started to learn numbers. Simple
that's
concepts
true.
such as those kinds of things, right? So
Mhm.
I'm moving forward to what I call your turning point moment. Please share with us about the day when you decided to pursue going to Vietnam. What made you flip the switch instead of being a public teacher here in the Philippines?
Well, to tell you honestly, since my family are all working in the public school system, so they would expect me to like also go on the same path. Like when I was teaching, I had a year of experience teaching like in a traditional classroom, private school. So I don't know, is it okay to say the name of the school? I think.
I think let's better not mention it. Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so okay, I won't name names.
Yeah.
So I had an experience there. It was actually cool. So it's kind of different, but I was still young. After I graduated, I worked while reviewing for the exam. So I was like more into self exploration. I was like, should I teach in the public school? Should I go to another private school for more experience because we need that? And or shall I yes, yes, or shall I stay with this school because they are good? The I'm in good terms with everybody. And or I was like, should I study another degree? Lots of things happening because we're still young. We still don't know what we want in life. So I was like, But one thing was certain, I'd really like to experience lots of educational system. It was really in me. And one day, an opportunity came, like, oh, they're urgently hiring teachers in Vietnam. I was like, Vietnam? I know Vietnam existed or it exists, but I was not, they are in need of teachers like that. So I was like, my mom was hesitant. I was also kind of hesitant, but I was like, I think I should grab it. I know it will be a learning experience. So I'm here right now.
Yeah, what's interesting about Vietnam? I mean, for me personally, I didn't know a lot about Vietnam. Uh,
True, exactly my point.
yeah, I only knew Vietnam because they were at war before with the U.S. and they kind of somehow at some point the U.S. Uh, didn't win that. I don't know, from maybe from video games or something. Yeah, I used to play video games from but yeah, it's such an there are a lot of things to explore when I saw photos of Vietnam, the culture, right? The you
They
know
have rich culture. I think
rich
I can say
culture,
that.
indeed. So it also it's really interesting, right? There's just a lot to explore in Vietnam, and also they're non-native. They're non-English speakers. I mean, um, there are a lot of people who you know who wanted to learn the particular subject, right? English, because it's
Mm-hmm.
I think it's English is the lingua franca, right? The common language of the world, right? So
Usually learned language. Lots of people want to know the language.
yes, indeed. So um before okay, before you went to Vietnam, right? You went as an ESL teacher first, right? I believe you became an ESL teacher. Um, so what was your uh, you know give us a little bit of a background about um how is it different to a traditional classroom setting? But
Um, like you mean the Philippines setup versus like in Vietnam educational setup? Is that what you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, right.
All right. So I think there are differences and there are similarities, but when I say educational system, I can't quite compare them because I taught different children there than in here. So there, I was able to teach grade 7 students, grade 4 elementary, all kinds of students. And in here, I'm just more of like in the preschoolers. So it also varies because the curriculum is different. In here, I'm teaching English in a Montessori school. So somehow I need to align it with the Montessori curriculum, like the Montessorian
Mm.
way. It's more of like the children should experience or should really see real things. So more or less, my lessons would be like giving them or showing them real things first before into abstract things. While in the Philippines, English it's quite with us. We grew up learning using English, so it's kind of easy there in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
But here in the Vietnam, I have to learn few keywords, Vietnamese words, so that I can relate it with the students, and especially they are young. But when you say like I have been an ESL in the Philippines, they were Koreans and Chinese. So it was also different because it was online. So I can't physically touch the students. So that was the hint that that's one of the hindrances when you're teaching online, right? I think you can relate.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
can
I
relate.
think those are the difference differences. So there were similarities. Most of them, if kids, they would easily learn English through repetition.
Need. So yeah, I can relate to you when you said you need to learn some keywords or some phrases to make kids understand what they about the instruction, right?
Mm.
In my case,
CPR.
yes, TPR, total physical response. You have to point your mouth, your part of the body. You make
Do some actions.
yes, you have to make gestures
Yes.
for to make the students understand what you were saying, and you also have to learn some not just gestures but also some Chinese because I'm teaching Chinese right now, so I had to learn some Chinese words, right? Simple greetings or some simple questions like are you ready? 你准备好了吗?
Mm.
Right? Um, or are you finished? Yeah, 你完成了吗? There we go.
Wow. Your
So,
Chinese is good.
not, not really. But
I think so because I've forgotten Chinese. I just know ni hao ma.
yeah, 你好嘛 for sure. And good afternoon, good evening. You know, 晚上好. Those kinds of uh, greetings or so just a few expressions, right? So, what was your first class like when you just started teaching here in the Philippines? Like when you started your ESL job, what was your first um demo or first teaching like?
In the
What did you
Philippines, right?
teach or how did it go, and what did you realize on after that class?
In the Philippines, right?
Yeah, Philippines, and then we can move on to Vietnam. Yeah.
All right. In the Philippines, because I had been into two companies. So when you're in a big company, you really need to prepare for the demo lesson. So actually, they would prepare like this would be your demo lesson about. So I had colors like the easy one. Colors, yeah. So it was kind of bit the same. It was not really new to me because I'm an education graduate, so we would do demo lessons like on a daily basis. So nothing really new. And when it came to like the Korean, it's more of like private. It's not really that big company, but the owner was also good.
Cool.
um Not really much of demo lesson. It was more of like interviewing. Like she just oriented me. She would just ask me like common, introduce yourself, just basic stuff, but no demo lessons. Because the demo lessons were like the trial lessons, so she would base her judgment of my performance or how I teach based on the classes already. But with the bigger company, the Chinese one, they were really quite strict. Like before they would really hire you, you need to like undergo certain process and it's long, and it would determine and it would really determine like the rate that you would be given
Mm,
per hour for 25 minutes, I think so.
yeah, 25-minute class. Right.
Okay, I still remember it.
I would also yeah, it's a little more challenging if you're not a graduate of education, right? If you don't have an
I
education
like
major,
agree.
it's a little
Mm-hmm.
more challenging because you have to you have to be gritty in that case, right? So my experience, it was like I had to choose. My trainer would let me choose various topics. I forgot the topic that I chose back then, but yeah, it was a little more challenging. My heart was pounding. Right, it's a little like uh, I could say like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Right? I don't know what to do. But then I remembered my, it's a good thing that if you have a BPO experience, like call center experience, so that helps you a little bit, right? So for some companies out there, they would also prefer having that call center experience because at least you have the experience. You're no
It
longer,
does help.
yeah, in dealing with other people. So what about in Vietnam? So what was your first class like in Vietnam? Because
Oh
that
my god.
right, because in Vietnam, right, you already have you're no longer dealing with kids one on one, but on a whole in a whole group in a whole in a classroom itself, right? So how different is it? How challenging is it compared to online setting?
Online setting. Because you're dealing with groups, so the children they have different personalities. They've got different strengths and weaknesses. So you've got to learn it. Like as a teacher, it's one of the things or essential things that you need to do is to learn about your learners. So on the first day, I tried learning about my learners. I tried to observe them, but it was a bit challenging, I shall say, because I handled students or learners from 1 to 2 years old. So they cannot speak a thing, even Vietnamese they can. So it was like the first day was it was kinda I was kinda happy though. I was able to do it, but it was kinda like they were just looking at you like that because they can't speak. But I do believe that they are absorbing it because, like in the Montessori, they believe that on those age, children are like sponges. They absorb things. They cannot say it, but they do remember it. So I was like, they were just looking at me, and it was like I was doing a monologue, which I'm not kind of used to. I was like, oh, what's this? What's that? I tried. I was the one who thought about my topic, so it was animals. Easy, easy again. Just easy. Always it should be easy. So there we had the pig. I made it like really enjoyable. I let it touch the kids, and they were like, they were having fun. But of course, they can still follow. It was first day, but I was like, they say that you know that the students like your teaching based on how they respond, and they were laughing, and I was like, oh, I think my class is enjoyable. I think they learned something. But it was on the spot. Like we were like, I'm kind of used to like having lesson plans, something like that. Like it's not that I would be like on my lesson plan, but I should have a guide. But in here they were like, "Oh, first day you should teach English." I was like,
No
my
lesson
friend
plan.
and I looked at each other and we were like, "Do you know what you're going to teach?" And I was like, "I don't know." I just looked. I tried to be resourceful as I can, and then I saw, oh, there were toys like animal toys, and I was like, okay, my topic would be like animals. So that was basically it. But the days passed, and we were required to make a weekly lesson plan. So right now we would do weekly lesson plans.
Fantastic. So it's something that I haven't learned. Doing lesson plans uh online because usually if you're working on a in a company for ESL, they would already have they already have these lessons prepared for the student, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally different, and it. I think I can say that going to traditional classroom setting would be a little more difficult if you're only used to online setting, right? So you have to be adaptable, right? You have to um, adapt to these changes, and I'm really happy that I studied the course that would let me allow to uh,
The TESOL.
yeah, the TESOL certificate. So at least I know now how to how to make lesson plans.
It's a big help. It's a big help.
Indeed, right? It was difficult for me at first. Oh my god, how would I like? I don't know how to do lesson plans, but at least after the course, oh my gosh, I learned a lot now. I can do this. I can do that. So,
That's
amazing.
a good thing, I guess.
So one of the problems a teacher may face early on, whether online or um, a traditional classroom, is these um, language barriers, right? So how did you overcome such issues?
Because actually, I was really into language. I like learning languages. Before, when I was in the Philippines, I would learn Korean because I love Korean dramas, the K-pop, and those stuff. So it's not really that it's easy for me. It's like it's natural for me, I might say. So Vietnamese is difficult. Even though you'd ask the natives, they would also agree that their language is indeed difficult. But um, every day through repetition, we would observe, like we would connect the words with the actions. And when the Vietnamese teachers are teaching, we would also listen. And I would say, like, teacher, I would repeat after her. It's like I'm also a student. I'm learning with the students. And it's also during my English time, the Vietnamese teachers would also learn. It's kind of fun. So I think with when it comes to like language barriers, it's like being open. It's like and repetition really is the key, and not being afraid to practice the language. Sometimes I would go out, go to the streets and like have random people like I would practice my Vietnamese. So I'm not that fluent, but I can when I hear some words, I would understand the context of what you're saying. Like I would say like keywords, and I was like, oh, I think I would like not really know word by word, but I would say, ah, okay, she's talking about this, and I would be like, is this what you mean? And then yes, yes, or if there's something that I don't know, I would try my best, like to do some actions, so that I would improve my Vietnamese because it's really important. And if you want to learn about the Vietnamese culture, it's also I think it's a must.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree with you when you said that you have to learn the language. That's also what I did or what I'm doing right now when it comes to my Chinese students. And if ever I would, you know, teach abroad or level up, right? You wouldn't know. So I would also be learning their language as well. So I also had those, I also like learning languages of other people. Back then, when I was a little younger, probably high school, I used to learn not just English, but also I used to learn a little bit of Latin, right?
Oh,
And so that
that's cool.
and Spanish, because yeah, that's how I fell in love with um,
Language.
yeah, languages. So English, Spanish, and Latin. So I used to learn three languages when I was in high school, during my seminary days. Yeah, so that's great.
Oh,
Um,
you went to a seminary.
yeah, yeah, when I was in high school. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but no, I just realized it's not my.
Not your passion or not
No,
really what you wanted in life?
no.
It's hard, I think so.
Yeah, it's hard. But anyway, just I learned a lot there, and I wouldn't be the person that I'm now if not because of what I learned before, right? So as for teaching technique, what are the things that really work for you, and how do how do you use that to your advantage when teaching kids?
um, I would really like to stress out about my belief of like really knowing your learners. So it's really an advantage if you know your learners, how will you cater their needs? So with my learners, I just give you the example of like 1 to 2 years old. They're more into learning stuff. You will be more into building their vocabulary. So every day I would present them with contextualized lessons like fruits. So contextualizing in a way that I would give them examples of fruits that would usually be commonly seen here in Vietnam, so that they can relate it to themselves. It would make learning easier. And so that's one, like contextualizing, knowing your students, and incorporating play, because they are still young. They still don't know how to use their fine motor skills, gross motor skills. I'm sorry for the terms because I'm a special education graduate. So that's why I use those terms. So fine motor skills like using the small muscles. So I would let them tear papers like color, or I would let them just anything like to develop their school preparedness because they are preschoolers. So that it would be easy to transition to kindergarten. So that's why play, knowing your students, contextualizing stuff, and the last one I forgot. It's school preparedness.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about showing them the objects, right? Real objects, realia,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yes. So, for example, you mentioned about the fruits, right? Sometimes you have to show them the real fruit, right? What's this?
Mhm.
They would recognize right away uh, what the vocabulary is, right? So, in my case, I would also incorporate using sound effects, right? So,
That's
yeah,
also great.
yeah. Music and sound effects. That's one thing that really works for me. And for
Mm.
for all online user or online teaching or online teachers rather, I would also suggest to them to use music and sound effects, especially to those younger kids, right? So yeah, it really works for me. So I think that's what I can suggest too. So
Do you use the song Hello, Hello? Can you clap your hands? Do you do that with the young kids?
no, there
I'm
in
good. I'm great.
in some
And
lessons,
that brings back memories. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
In some lessons there are some songs already incorporated, but in my case I would still use my own sound effects. I have my own here that I'm
Mm.
using, just like what you heard earlier. So whenever they answer the question right, I would give them a clapping sound effect like this,
Mm.
or this one. So yeah, that will help them with their learning. And also if they if you manage to give them, if they manage to perfect an activity, they would give another sound effect. You give them different kinds of sound effects or music or learning, so that
Mm.
will make the class interesting and fun for them. Right.
That's true. But I just asked you about the music because usually, because we had the same Chinese company, right? They would usually use that one. I'm good. I'm great. I'm wonderful. They would
Yeah.
use that. So I was like, those times.
Interesting. 'Cause, yeah, they already have these music prepared for you. So that's already one advantage that you can use already. So
in, in the software already. Is that
yeah,
what you mean?
in the lessons itself, yeah, they already have these music. All you have to do is to play it to them. Yeah.
Ah, I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so now moving forward to working in Vietnam. So if I were to work in Vietnam, what are the things or what are some things that I should anticipate? What would be you can talk about some requirements or work environment or culture. What are the things that I should expect or I should consider if I were to work in Vietnam?
If I will be telling it to you like one by one, I think it's quite a long process when it comes to requirements. So I think just the outline, I
Yes.
guess so. So basically,
Just
you
the
need
most
to have.
important one. Just the most
Hmm?
important ones. Sorry.
All right. Of course, you need to have a bachelor's degree. Being if you're an education graduate, it would be an advantage. And then you need, of course, to have an employer. Of course, an employer, someone who'll employ you to give you work, and they have you send your resume. You need to have contract because most of the teachers here, we all came here differently, and from time to time, the procedure of going here differs. So that's why. But I think I will tell you like the latest as far as I know. So employer, and you need to certify your credentials to commission on higher education, like your diploma, transcript of records, and your GWA, general weighted average. So you need those three to have like the red ribbon. I think that's a layman's term, but I think it's called CAV, certification, accreditation, and verification of your credentials. And then you need to have medical exam, NBI clearance, or I think it's police clearance, TESOL certification. They really need it. It's important. And you need to go to POEA to have your documents like certified again. Then they would go to the embassy in Vietnam, and then if you go to the embassy of Vietnam, they would give you like I think it's the visa to go here. And when you're already here in Vietnam, you need to work for your work permit. It's
Oh.
essential. The TRC, or it's the temporary residence card. Usually the temporary residence card, it's for 2 years. So because usually contracts here are for 2 years. So
Mm.
yeah, and the things that you need to process here in Vietnam, if you're because some of the employers can't really speak English, so they have like agents. They call it agents that will help you process your work permit, your temporary residence card. So you'll work usually with the agents, and you need to pay, of course, from the Philippines. You need to pay some fee, and here in Vietnam fee as well.
Right.
So
It's gonna
I
be
think
a
that's
lengthy process then. So if I were to work
yeah.
in Vietnam, you were to work in Vietnam for those people who are interested to work as a teacher in Vietnam. So those are the things that you have to expect. First is of course your certificate. Yeah, you must have a teaching certification, TESOL, CELTA, or EFL, any equivalent, right? Also,
Mm-mm.
bachelor's degree. I don't think they. I don't think you can teach still if you're not a degree holder, but I think it would really take, it would be really difficult. But yeah, that's because that's one minimum requirement so far that I've seen based on my research. You have to have a bachelor's degree, a certification, and yeah, and all those other papers.
It's a lengthy process. When you go to other countries as well, it's a lengthy process. And even in the public education system, it's a lengthy process.
I think that doesn't not that only does not apply only in Vietnam but also in other countries as well.
That's
Right?
true. Even in the Philippines.
Indeed. So yeah. Now talk about your what's next in your life. Like you're already teaching in Vietnam. I think you you you've already done a lot. Um, so talk about your long term goals. What would be your visions in the near future?
All right. Oh, I forgot to answer about the culture, right? I'll answer that first. Do you want?
Sure. Okay, I can.
I
Sorry.
think because we tackled a lot about the process, it was
Uh,
lengthy, so it came out of the window. So when it comes to the culture, it also differs. If you are on the North Vietnam, South Vietnam, or the place that you are. Usually, if you are into like provinces like me, where there are less foreigners, so people are kind of like, she speaks English. She's not one of us. So something like that. They still get that surprised feeling. But when you come to like Saigon or Hanoi, like the big cities, wherein there are lots of foreigners already. So usually they're kind of used to, okay, she speaks English, we need to entertain her. But
mm,
it's life is easier when you're in the big cities. So I can tell just the difference. But overall, Vietnam, the food, the people, it's really heaven, like paradise.
yeah,
I shall
breathtaking. I've been seeing pictures
quite
of Vietnam
lucky.
for a while
Mm.
now. So yeah, I could see that it's breathtaking and truly inspiring. And you know what? I want to go there.
You can come here, but you need to undergo the process first, as I
Right.
told you.
And also for some people, I would I would add something about the requirements. So some agencies or some schools require native speakers. So native English speakers are someone who are from USA, UK, Ireland, or Canada, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. So Philippines, or if you're a Filipino teacher, you're a non-native speaker. But nevertheless, you're still there are still many schools that um,
Higher.
hire, right, that hire English teachers. So that's really cool. Okay, so moving forward, now let's talk about your goals, your
Ah.
vision. So, what would be your life in the near future? Yeah, what's next?
Actually, with this pandemic, I think nothing is sure because it changes. And but basically, I'm really more into, like I told you, I'm kind of like exploring things. So I think I can stay here in Vietnam, or who knows, maybe I can go to another country and maybe be an ESL teacher, or maybe like pursue my special education course or somewhat related to the course that I graduated to, because that is expected of me, I think. Because yeah, my parents are quite not really particular, but it's expected that you should the course that you've graduated in, it should be connected with your work, so that the career advancement I'm talking about, that it would be, I think the it would be better. But I kind of like it, so I'm kind of into those. I'm on the stage of my life again. Where should I head? So I think I still have a year, because my contract, it hasn't ended yet. So I still have a year of like deciding, should I be an ESL or go to special education? More into weighing stuff and enjoying life, of course. We need it.
Nice one. So, yeah, you still have a lot to enjoy. You're seeing yourself uh, pondering between those two things. So it's gonna be a great decision whatever choice you make, because I'm sure that you will be making the most out of those choices. Yeah.
Yeah, and who knows? I might build a school and I will hire you.
Ah.
Who knows? Who knows? Anything
Oh,
is possible, I think.
right. Interesting.
You're welcome. You will be welcome into my school.
Uh, right.
I hope. I
And one
hope.
more thing, what are your pieces of advice to people who might want to be an ESL teacher one day?
I think you need to grow yourself first and welcome opportunities, because usually opportunities are just there, and it's just us who are ready or not ready for it. So be open and grow. I really like to stress, like, grow yourself, pursue continuing education, and learn a lot of things. Learn a lot about different cultures if you're into going abroad, so that it would be easier for you to adjust. And of course, like, you need to have the necessary skills, and you need to work on yourself, because we need to evolve, to change. So yeah, I think it's all the same. It's just not with teaching English as a second language. It goes to all of us. I think that's it.
Fantastic. I love your advice. Always continue exploring yourself. Always discover um, you know, all the opportunities, all the possibilities. You'll never know what's coming. Right. So,
Yes, and I really realized that life is indeed the best teacher. It doesn't really talk or nag at you. It will push you, but it depends on you if you're going to push back or let life push you and then be depressed there. I think we need to
right.
adapt and adapt to the changes and adopt characteristics that we need to adapt into the change.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Love that. Okay. Lastly, where should we follow you on social media?
Oh, wait a minute. I need to look it up because I'm not good with remembering things. So for like my personal account, it would be like at Eli Dunton for both Facebook and Instagram. Usually, I like posting on Instagram. It's usually about feminine things, elegance. I'm more into that, and I do have like a business account like FB and Instagram. It would be at Be Youthful 1997. That's at Be Youthful 1997. It's also geared into elegance, luxury, something
Mhm.
like that.
Yes. All about beauty, right? Uh,
Ah, that's right.
right. There we go. So to all the listeners, please follow Ellie at Be Youthful on Instagram and on Facebook. Yay!
Hey, thank you so much.
All
It's such a
right.
pleasure to be invited here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ellie. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. It's been a wonderful talk, and I look forward to talk to you again soon. All right. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, me too. We should connect. more often than we
Yeah.
are doing right now.
Alright, thank
I do
you.
enjoy your content, I shall say.
Amazing.